Greetings. I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this particular thread that is titled God's Writing on the Wall. And before I begin, I'd like to just take a moment. I'm going to slow it down for prayer. I pray that the message is received good in the positive way that it's intended to be informative. I pray that the message is shared with others once a person does whatever they need to do. I pray that the message is researched so that it can be proven true, because we shouldn't deny the truth and we should always accept the facts. Quite often, when someone does a end of days video, it is actually often full with lots of scripture, which is not a problem for me. However, what if a person listening doesn't know scripture, hasn't been taught scripture, and how do they know if what you're saying is true? As a matter of fact, quite often people who are into scripture don't accept most of end of days teachings that scholars bring forth of scripture itself. So now, how's a layman going to deal with this? So what I've done was I put together this particular video to help the layman, and also obviously the person who's kind of a learned person in scripture and facts. But this one is meant for everybody, because it's going to deal more with facts, places, and people, situations. And once you know that, in part two, I'll tie it all into scripture. So with that being said, let me begin. So then, many scriptures deal with the end of days. Daniel, John, Timothy, 2 Timothy in particular, and the book of Revelations. So if I were to ask a question, when Jesus returns, would he fight or throw into the lake of brimstone and fire a spiritual being or a physical being? The answer is going to be simple. It's going to be a physical being that has a spirit. But as scripture says, before Jesus' return, the beast, and particularly the Antichrist, must come into power and rise. So in order for him to do that, he has to be born. So toward the end, scripture mentions the dragon, a man, a woman, who's actually the harlot, the mark of the beast, the image of the beast, and the Antichrist. So I'm going to deal mainly with the Antichrist. So whenever you watch a movie and a person has been deceived by a person or a group of people, fooled, tricked, bamboozled, charmed, conned, seduced, whatever you want to say, the key is to follow the money trail. Even when we look at our health situations today in terms of the medical field and why things are allowed to be what it is, if you want to know the real answer, follow the money trail. If you want to know why Hollywood has injected lots of homosexuality into television and into the movies, all you do is follow the money trail. So now I think you kind of get the gist of what I'm saying. So in this particular video, we're going to follow the trail also, but it's going to be the factual trail, kind of like the yellow brick road that Dorothy had to follow in order to get to the Wizard of Oz. So I say again, let's not deny the truth and let us accept the facts. So quite often, Too many people are waiting on some famous person to bring forth the information that they need, some star. And nor do most people expect a common everyday person, one without a title, one who's struggling right in the pits with everyone else, would bring forth the information that I'm bringing forth. But to them I say, too much TV. So then, as we know, and according to Scripture, Satan is the father of all lies, and he is the father of the Antichrist. So then, in order to be the father of the Antichrist is indeed his son. So, if you were to go to Genesis 3:15, and it reads, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. Now, that is a confirmation of Jesus talking to Satan, Lucifer, the serpent. The serpent isn't really Lucifer, but okay. Of events that are coming. And this is what God says in Scripture. So again, let's not deny the truth. Let's accept the facts. So, we're being tricked daily by the powers that be, inspired by Satan, Lucifer, whoever you call them, and the language that we speak, English, or English, if you want to say that. And from this language, he invokes belief. But if we look at the fonts of the word, a derivative of the word, we can see and we can break it up into be, lie, Eve, which simply means be a liar to the children of Eve. Be like Eve. So then, how can Satan sink belief over the truth, over facts, and over knowing? What he does is he slaps in or throws in or pinches a little bit of untruths in fables and tales and books and music and poetry, philosophy and television and movies and scripture. Just a little lie here and a little lie there. So what I'm saying is that no one in this day of time should not know about the Council of Nicaea, who had their first meeting in 325 AD, that was initiated by the Constantine, which he gathered something like 220 bishops at the time to discuss what things were pertinent, what things to throw away, and what have you. So then again, you should know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And if you would like at this particular time to grab a pen and paper, I think that would be cool, a good thing to do. So then, my question goes, do you know God's writing on the wall? So I'm going to start with you with the son of Sam, who's David Brotorus, who was born, well, first of all, he was conceived somewhere around October the 1st through 3rd of 1952. He was born June 1st in 1953 in New York City, New York. I just want you to watch. It just so happens in 1952, the year and the summer time in which he was conceived, New York had its hottest summer ever recorded in 1952. So then, that was when the beast rose from the pits of hell in order to conceive an Antichrist. Listen to me, an Antichrist, which is the son of Sam. Not the Antichrist, but an Antichrist. So there's been several Antichrists, but one main Antichrist. And we're going to uncover it before it's all over. So now, 13 years from 1953 is 1966. I want you to keep these years in mind. Keep that date in mind. The Pope Paul VI. His first visit to the U.S. took place on October 4th, 1965, where he spent 14 hours in New York. October the 4th, 1965. Interesting. Of course, later he dies, and Pope Paul II came to the U.S. October the 1st to the 7th in 1979. That's 13 years from the time that Pope Paul came. Again, if we have 13 years between the birth of the Son of Sam in New York to the birth or the visit of the Antichrist in 1966, then from the birth of the Antichrist in 1966, we have Pope Paul II coming to the United States 13 years later in 1979 in the same month. So do you think this is a coincidence or something to it? So now let's take a brief look at what's going on in the year 1966. So June 6, 1966 is really saying the 6th month, the 6th day, and the 66th year is when the Antichrist is born. We should all know this by now, but it is what it is. So then, if the Pope came to the United States October the 4th in 1965, and if you were to count the months, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 9 months from the time that the Pope visited the United States for the first time, the Antichrist was born. Isn't that strange? In New York, and that was where he visited. Now, I know some of you may be looking like, wow, can that be true? Well, let me go a little further. Yes, the Antichrist was born in New York, and there's been several movies to depict that. It's just that we looked at it as entertainment. One of the movies in mind is The Devil's Advocate, whereas Keanu Reeves played the role as the physical seed of Satan, who was played by Al Pacino, which was a result of his mother, who had traveled to New York, here we go again, New York, in somewhere around 1965-66. And one of the key of the movie is that the devil had a daughter also. So then, June 6, 1966, not only was the main Antichrist born in New York, 12 other children were born. There are Antichrists, but not the Antichrist. And some of them were meant to throw you off so that you don't know about the main one. And the movie again showed that he had a main daughter and a main son, that he wanted them to cohabitate together and bring forth a very powerful being. Now, I don't want to go left or anything like that, but I do have a book coming out March 1st that's titled The Birth and Rise of the Antichrist. And yes, this video is an introduction to the book. So I can't go super deep into it, but I want to give you some ideas of what's going on. And also, I have a current book out that's called A Message in a Movie, whereas the end of time, the ends of time, and the Antichrist and the powers that be are broken down in plain English so people can understand what's been given to us as hidden in a lot of the movies. So now, I go back to 1966. It's a key year. So August 5th, 1966, the Beatles, they released an album titled Revolver. Now, whether you know it or not, the Beatles are key for bringing in their Druid satanic beats to America. And it also gave birth to heavy metal, acid rock, and things of that are demonic in nature. So now, if you look at the cover of the Beatles album, Revolver. There's going to be in the circle, there's going to be a cursive L. Well, what is cursive? It's a writing that's no longer taught in public schools, and it combines script together, alphabets together. So then, let me go back to the letter L. L is the 12th letter of the alphabet. So then, 6 plus 6 equals 12. Now, actually, what is a revolver? A revolver is a handgun. And 90-something% of the revolvers has 6 barrels. And in the barrels, you can put in 6 bullets. So this revolver, which is symbolic of 6, right, is one of the 6s. The L, which is the 12th letter of the alphabet, is 6 plus 6. So then the album itself is symbolic of a key group that has a lot to do with uniting people through satanic music in the U.S. And I too was a young person, and I liked the Beatles back in the day. But the truth is the truth. So, don't deny the truth and let us accept the facts. So let me keep moving. The summer of 1966. Now listen to this. Documented. New York had its driest summer ever recorded. Summer of 1966, after the Antichrist was born, New York had its hottest, driest summer ever. So now, is that another coincidence that the Antichrist was born in New York in 1966, June 6, 1966, and there so happens to be the hottest summer ever? I'm giving you these facts that that are just factual, undeniable, if you're just looking at it, because you can research it. I didn't make this up. So now, back to David, or the son of Sam, or Berkovitz. He started killing people in the summer of 1976, and he was actually caught August 10th, 1977. That would be 11 years after the Antichrist was born. Interesting. He said that the devil made him do the killing, and he heard the voice of the devil through a dog. Azazel. Watch the movie Fallen with Denzel, when Azazel would touch animals and people touch people and transfer from one to the other. However, the 11 again is symbolic of the 11 tribes of Canaan. They are the cursed people of the Bible, and they were never uncursed. That's what you have to understand. So now, Pope Paul VI died August 6th, 1978. And so what we have with him is, we have a pope that was called the 6th, who died on the 6th, in the 8th month. Now, let's look at the number 8. When you look at the number 8, it's really two connecting upside down, opposite facing 6s. Notwithstanding the letter P, which is also the 16th letter of the alphabet. And we know that 1 times 6 is still 6. So Pope, and the P is really an upside down 6 also. So Pope, which is 6. Paul, which is 6. The 6, which is 6. Died August 6, which is 6. So then, I'm bringing these facts out to you so you can take a look at it. So then, next in line, we have Pope John Paul I. He followed Pope Paul VI, and he reigned from August 26 to September 28 in 1978. That's a total of 33 days. So did you catch that? 33 days. So he was buried on October the 4th, and October the 4th happens to be the date that Pope Paul VI came to the United States for the first time. The date of the first Pope's visit is the same date that Pope Paul I was buried. Could be a coincidence. So I'm asking, is this beginning to sink in? Do you see the writing on the wall? So again, let's not deny the truth, and let's accept the facts. Next in line is Pope John Paul II. And here goes. His first trip to the U.S. was in October of 1979. So that again, that is 13 years from June the 6th, 1966, the year the Antichrist was born, right? And therefore, when a young man in ancient days reached the age of 13, he became an adult, and in the Greek culture, they would have a bar mitzvah, which means a transference from a young person, from a boy to a man. So the Pope, John Paul II, came in 1979 when the Antichrist was 13 years old to a private ceremony of him coming into power from a boy to a man. Now, watch me as I reveal a little more of the writings on the wall. Pope John Paul II, his last visit to the U.S. was January 26, 1999. And it just so happens, you have to check this out for yourself, that in 1999, New York had another one of its hottest and driest summers ever. Actually, it's considered the fourth driest summer ever. And what is 1999? Prince said that you got to party. Everybody should party like it's 1999. However, 1999 is the last alignment of the sixes. Remember, a 9 is only a 6 that is upside down. So then, look at it. The trips of the Pope and the birth of the Antichrist. Many people have tried to tie the Pope in to the Antichrist, but didn't know how to. So now I go to the movie Rosemary's Baby, which was an actual real event used for your entertainment, to entertain you with the truth, because Satan's arrogant that way. It was released June the 12th. There you go. 6 month, 12th day. 6 month, June, 12th day, 6 plus 6. It was in 1968. And it aligned up with the release date to equal the mark of the beast, 666. It couldn't be shown any time before that because they had to wait till after the Antichrist was born. So 2 years later, they're going to bring you a movie out about it, call it Rosemary's Baby, and entertain you, and you think it was just a movie. Now, did you know the actual film itself was filmed in the actual house and the apartment that the Antichrist was born in? The place is called the Dakota House and is located at 1 West 72nd Street, New York, New York. I repeat, 1 West 72nd Street, New York, New York. So now, the Dakota House has 65 apartments, one short of 66, but it's located at 1 West 72nd. So 65 plus 1 equals 66. Now, the word Dakota itself has 6 letters. D-O-K-O-D-A-K-O-T-A. Now, it is located on 72nd Street. And if you divide 72nd in half, you're going to get 36. So whenever the number 36 comes up, what you have to look at is it could mean 3 6s, such as the beast, the giant computer, the beast 3 6s, or 36, or 666. So then, also keep in mind, when you add the number 36 into itself, such as 1 plus 2, plus 3 plus 4, and so on. When you get to the end, it's going to equal 666. This is just a fact. So then, don't deny the truth. Let us accept the facts. I want to get to the end of this. My goal was to stay around 25 minutes. 1966, June 27th, 1966, the 6th month of 1966, a TV series came on and was aired often. It was called Dark Shadows. Dark Shadows was about a vampire and its darkness surrounding the vampire. Why has a sitcom about a vampire being filmed in the year that the Antichrist was born, and never again has it ever happened? Really? So then, let me give you a little more. In 1966, the Church of Satan opened on April the 30th, 1966, but the official opening day was June 6, 1966, and it was directed by a gentleman by the name of Anton Levy. A lot of stars came to him for advice and participated in his guidance and in orgies and what have you. So then I asked a question. If A is greater than B and B is greater than C, is not A greater than B and C? 1966. Ronald Wilson Reagan, who carries the mark of the beast in his initials, he was not the Antichrist, but many people was afraid of and thought he was. However, he became the governor of California in 1966. Now watch this as I bring this all together. 13 years later is 1979. He and Nancy introduced and initiated the official Year of the Child campaign. The official Year of the Child campaign. Why didn't it say the Year of the Children? Because child only implies one. Why is it that the Pope came also in 1979 to give honor to the Antichrist, who was born in 66, 13 years later, who had now became an adult? Another key figure, an event in person for the year 1966 would be Elizabeth Christ Trump, which is Donald Trump's grandmother, who died June the 6th, 1966. Blood in and blood out. So now, I just want you to think about this for a moment. Jesus came to us by way of Mary, the Virgin, and God. The Antichrist came to man by way of Rosemary and Satan. Now, you may ask, why New York? And I'm going to give it to you in short. It's because if you know how they do the actual numbers of New York equals two numbers. One is 111 and the other one is 666. The place equals 666. Now, not only that, the word computer equals 111 and 666. How coincidental that the beast, the Antichrist, can utilize the computer to link everyone in, to control you and link you in and lock you in through the web, like your flies to the web of a spider. Now, lastly, the words a president, a Christmas, a Halloween, and a state all equal 666. I'm concluding here, and I just want to thank you for listening. Hope you began to see and understand and research the writing on the wall. Hope that you purchase my book coming, The Birth and Rise of the Antichrist, where I'll break it all down. Or purchase my book now, Message in a Movie, where you'll be enlightened, like, for real. I thank you. Peace. Ashe.